Awesome.
You can see that okay?
Yes. All right. So prospecting is the one thing that we really want to be good at, folks. Okay. So, and by the way, I'm going to say a bunch of stuff up front that we're probably going to touch on. There's going to be a slide dedicated to it. But if you just allow me 3 minutes, I really want to set a solid foundation for us. So when it comes to lead prospecting, it's the one activity that you're going to do that is going to absolutely yield results for you, both short term and long term. Now, to a point that someone made earlier, they said, hey, I'm doing smart plans, I'm doing direct mail, and I don't know if it's working. Here's a rule of thumb to know, and you may have heard this before, but it's a very important reminder for us, and it's this. The activities that we do today, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a piece of mail, whether it's an email going out from our command database, all those activities, remember this, it takes 3 months to see a return on that activity. All right. So what you do today, it really takes up to 3 months to really see a return on that. And that's true in every stage of your business. From the point of you getting an accepted offer, it's probably going to be 3 months till you close that. From the point that you send out a business card, and by the way, I mean a piece of direct mail. And by the way, it's not only just sending out the piece of direct mail. Really, I would advise that you send out a piece of direct mail after you've had a conversation with someone, because then it's an added touch point for you. So I would definitely say, hey, if you're running all these things together, the phone calls, follow-up, the direct mail, the smart plan, those are all multiple touch points that are going to be important with following up with your database. So it takes 3 months. Please remember that, because you're going to make a phone call today, you're going to send out a piece of mail today, but keep in mind that you got to continue doing that. You got to continue touching your database before you see a return on that. So please don't grow frustrated. It's my encouragement. And by the way, I understand it, because we're in this business together. And believe me, there are days where I wonder myself, hey, is this activity leading anywhere? And it absolutely does. Okay. So please remember that. Now, and this is the one thing I will say, and I'll continue to say throughout our time here together today, is just do the work. All right. It sounds incredibly simple. And that's, by the way, with me, guys, I always try to press the easy button on everything that I do in the business. If it's complicated, if it's complex, if it's like matrix-like, I'm not going to do it. And if you're anything like me, if something is complicated and cumbersome and tedious, you're not going to do it either. And that's just me. If it doesn't make sense to me, if I don't think it'll be a good experience for my customer or my client, I'm not going to do it. All right. So that being said, whatever works, do it, but do the work. Make the phone calls, do the follow-up. There's no substitute for calling your database. There's absolutely no substitute for that. And there's certainly a place for buying leads and do that kind of thing, but do the work. And yeah, I'm gonna just jump in, because again, there's a lot of information that we got to get through, but I had to get that out from the very beginning. We got to do the work, guys, because it takes up to 3 months before we see a return on any of those kind of activities. All right, so we'll focus on today: growing the business, running the business. So first of all, the way that we grow the business is to lead generate for buyers and sellers. All right, let's move along. All right, so we're connecting from prospecting to lead generation. There's certainly different methods and habits that we can establish every single day when we're following up with the database. All right, one idea, and I'm sure that if you guys are productivity training with, or coaching with Rebecca, she's gonna talk about this idea of time blocking and really, having these blocks of time in your calendar that are dedicated to your most important activity. I call them the MMA, right? The money making activities. So for example, I don't know if anyone on the call has young kids or loved ones that look after, but with me, I'm at home. I'm married. I have 2 younger children. So most of my mornings consist of getting my kids ready for school, getting them out the door. So that block of time is committed to them. Once they're on the bus, from that point till noon, and I'm just telling you what I do, that time is for me to follow up with my database. I'm making my phone calls. That is a non-negotiable period of time for me. I'm doing my best not to put out any fires as far as any listings or buyers that I'm working with. I'm doing my best to block that off at 12, at the top of the hour, is when I am going to be doing that follow-up and putting out those fires if there's any to put out. Hopefully not. But from 9 to 12, I'm generating new business, right? I'm talking to people in my database, past clients. I'm talking to friends and loved ones. And by the way, there's a script for all of this out there. And I'm sure that, again, Rebecca has shared a lot of these scripts with you, but absolutely have a partner that you are having conversations with, and kind of daily, you got to sharpen that axe, because the wrong time to practice is when you're on the phone with the client, okay? Which, by the way, that being said, do not be so nervous about having a conversation with a potential buyer or seller that you just don't have the conversation. Ultimately, just if you're coming from a place of contribution and care and knowing that you're going to add value to that conversation, just do the work. It goes back to that basic concept, just do the work. Don't shrink back from it, dive in and go ahead and do it. All right, next screen. Okay, so this is a very helpful illustration here, because what happens is this. So you see this funnel here, and what's going to happen, which, by the way, guys, everybody has a phone, right? We should all have a phone. In your phone, the average person has anywhere from 300 to 500 contacts on your phone. All right. Now, this is what I highly encourage you all to do if you have not done it already. Everyone on your phone list should be in your database, okay? Everyone in your phone contact list should absolutely go on your database. And by the way, there's a way that there's programs, and by the way, I don't have them offhand, but I know they exist. There's a way that you could, attach your phone contact list and actually print out, export a list, and then you could, there's an easy button to all of this. Or, you could be like me, I'm gonna go one by one and I'm gonna enter all this information. But there's absolutely an easy way to do this, but everyone on your phone should absolutely be in your database. You already have contact with them. And by the way, a great script. Thank you, Haley. Haley's putting information in the chat where you can do that. I appreciate that, Haley. I would absolutely encourage you to do that. Everyone on your contact list, transfer it over into Command. And if you don't have emails or addresses for some of those contacts, there's a very basic script. By the way, if they're in your phone, you have some level of relationship with them already. Okay, so this is a very basic script. So usually around the holidays, it works really well, but even right now, you could reach out to, people that are on your phone. Now, I'm not even talking about potential leads. I'm talking about people on your phone. That's what we call your sphere of influence, right? So you're reaching out to your sphere, people on your phone, and you're saying, hey, how you doing, Joe? Just want to know how you were doing, man. The game last night was crazy, wasn't it? Again, because you're authentic, you're natural. This is just you being you. The game was great. Halftime show, goodness gracious, got all the high school feels, listening to that old school hip hop. Awesome, man. By the way, I'm updating my address list, and I noticed that I think I have an old address for you. Do you mind, sharing me your address so that I make sure that I can send out, thank you cards and holiday cards, what have you, to you? Oh yeah, by the way, that's one script. That's just to get an address. If you have an email already, this is just to get an address. Now, the second script is for email. This is one that I use probably daily to get an email from someone in my sphere. And by the way, speaking of smart plans, a quick aside, if you are not using smart plans, I highly encourage you to attach people in your database to a smart plan. Now, usually smart plans are only effective when you have one of two things. An email address, super important. Need an email, and a home address if possible. Now, the reason why I recommend getting the home address in addition to the email is because by far, my favorite smart plan in Command is called the Monthly Neighborhood Nurture Plan. And Haley, if you don't mind putting that in the chat for me. My favorite smart plan in Command is the monthly. And the reason why I said it is because there's two of them. There's a bi-weekly, but I opt out of that one. I like to send it out on a monthly basis. A monthly neighborhood nurture plan. Now, the reason for that is because on a monthly basis, folks are getting an email update from you stating what are their houses that have sold in their area. So in essence, they're getting comps on a monthly basis from you. That's a value add. That's absolute value add from your system, from you. So what I like to tell people is this. I say, hey, Sally, how you doing? Hope all is well. By the way, a lot of my clients have found value receiving a monthly email from me, letting them know what houses have sold in the neighborhood. By the way, it's a really good snapshot of home values in the area. Do you think you would find value receiving something like that? 9 out of 10 times, people are going to say, yeah, absolutely. I would love to know that. And by the way, say this is a completely free service that I provide. No obligation. It's just information for you to have at a glance for you. So that's a really good way that I have found to get an email from people. So you get an email, you get a home address, because when you plug in the address in Command, it either automatically attaches a neighborhood or a farm to that address. If it doesn't, very simple, you could just go to add a neighborhood, and then a map will populate, and then you could just select the neighborhood that the address falls under. Super, super basic. And by the way, if you guys ever have any kind of command related question, two really important people to follow up with, Eileen Angel. She's our tech guru at our market center, or also Scott Leroy. Scott Leroy is a paid a vendor that we have that could absolutely help you with all your tech related questions. And Haley, if you have that information handy, if you could throw it in the chat, I would absolutely appreciate it. Thank you, Haley. So, all right, I'm talking a lot. And if you guys have questions, raise your hand, and Haley, keep me honest on time too, please. All right. So once you add those contacts into your database, or any potential leads that you have, now they're in your database. Now you're going to cultivate and nurture those leads or those prospects. Okay. Some of them are going to be active. Some of them are going to be just they're just looking, they're just shopping, not necessarily all that motivated to buy or sell at the moment. But that being said, the follow-up is super important with attaching them to your database, and Smart Plans is a great way to follow up with them. All right, we're moving right along. All right. So tailor your message. Tailor your message depending on who your audience is. Awesome. Thank you, Haley. So tailor your message depending on who your market is. So a great way, by the way, to understand how we approach this business is see yourself as a matchmaker. See yourself as a matchmaker, okay? So you're matching the right buyer to the right home. You're matching your listing to the right buyer. So when you remove yourself from, because by the way, never be so involved in a transaction that you take it personal. Just kind of remove yourself. Deal with facts, deal with exactly what's in front of you. There's going to be different personality types that you work with. And there's a whole methodology to that. There's the whole DISC profile, DISC, and you could go down kind of a rabbit hole when it comes to DISC profiles. But there's going to be different personalities that you encounter on a daily basis, and tailor your approach and your messaging to who those people are. Some people prefer to see things in numbers. Some people prefer to see things in diagrams. And so you got to absolutely know who your target audience is. And by the way, when you're speaking with people, if you're in productivity coaching with Rebecca, ask her for certain questionnaires to have when you're speaking either with a seller or with a buyer. Because guys, listen, I firmly believe in rip off and duplicate. There's a checklist. There is a questionnaire out there for pretty much every scenario you're going to encounter. Rebecca is a great source. Rebecca King, your coach, is a great source to kind of turn to and say, hey, by the way, do you have a buyer, pre-qualifying checklist that I could have when I'm speaking with potential buyers? Because the reason why I say that is because you're going to ask a lot of important qualifying questions when speaking with either a buyer or a seller. You want to know, A, what is their primary motivation for buying now? You want to know that. Same for the seller. You want to know what their primary motivation is for selling right now, because you want to be able to know if this is a next 3 months purchase or listing, or whether this is a when my son goes to college in 2 years kind of listing. So when you're asking those pre-qualifying questions up front, you're able to know where to kind of funnel them and what kind of follow-up now needs to occur. So when you have these conversations with buyers too, you're able to identify what neighborhoods, what markets they want to be in, how much land they want, preferably what distance they want to be from their job or from their kid's school. So you ask a lot of questions, ideally anywhere from 30 to 50 questions. The more questions, the more information, the more data you could get from that conversation, then now hopefully we could eliminate any misunderstandings down the line. Because, for example, it happens to all of us, guys. It happens to all of us where you're talking to someone and they say, hey, I would love a house that has a garage. And ideally, I want it to be within, no more than 45 minutes from my job. All right, perfect. Now, 2 days later, they're sending you houses that don't have garages and are within an hour and a half from their job. And and we've all been there. I've made the mistake of scheduling an appointment to go to that house. We go there, and sometimes it's way out of your way. And you take them, and they're like, you know what? This house doesn't have a garage. And, oh man, I didn't realize it's an hour and a half from my job. We shouldn't have come here. And I understand because I've been there. I'm like, well, dude, you sent me this house. You saw the pictures. You knew it didn't have a garage, and you know how far it was from your job. And, I know that that's our knee-jerk reaction is to kind of say, hey, but you sent this to me. But I think a really important point to really stress here is when you pre-qualify your buyers, when you have kind of this first meeting with them and you're gathering this information, now when they're sending houses to you that they want to see, you can say, hey, by the way, I noticed that this house doesn't have a garage. I know you mentioned that's one of your non-negotiables. Also, I noticed that the house is within an hour and a half from your job. Just want to make sure that you're still interested in seeing it, even though this was on your non-negotiable list. So now you're not accusing, you're only clarifying the original criteria that was set during that original conversation. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm referring to as far as being a matchmaker, as far as identifying your target audience, and really getting as much information as you can from them, from the buyer or the seller. All right. All right, beautiful. We can move along. Awesome, great slide. All right, so be prospecting based. So, all right, so when we are, and like I said, when it comes to prospecting, it's the most important activity you will do in your day. It really is. Not showings, not even, you know what, listing appointments are pretty darn important, but we don't get to listing appointments, we don't get to showings unless we're doing the work of prospecting, all right? So I know that sometimes it's easier, especially for us introverted people. Believe it or not, I am very introverted. I'm what I like to call an extroverted introvert. I am totally fine being in a room by myself or with my loved ones or some friends, but really, I could be extroverted when I have to be. So believe me when I understand you introverts that prefer to send out a letter, but there's gonna come a time, and I encourage you to do it sooner than later. Pick up your phone, put on your headset, and make some phone calls. Do the work. Do the work. Have these conversations. All right. And by the way, I don't think there's a slide for this, but very important. You typically learn this in bold. It's something that Gary Keller talks about all the time. And it's the real estate job description. Okay. This is the real estate job description. If there's nothing else that you need to follow, it's just this right here. Okay, it's the real estate job description. You're gonna lead generate, you're gonna lead follow up, you're gonna go on appointments, you're gonna negotiate contracts, and you're gonna practice and role play. Those 5 things. If you do those 5 things consistently, and really right now, it's the first 2 that we're talking about today. It's the lead generating, it's the lead follow-up. Lead generating is this right here, it's this slide, all right? It's picking up your phone, and that's that block of time that I was talking about a few minutes ago. So between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m., between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m., you should be lead generating, you should be lead prospecting. That is picking up your phone, calling the 5 people, calling the people in your database. And Emily, absolutely, I'm repeating the 5 things in the real estate job description. Number 1, lead generating. Lead generating, that's making those phone calls. Pick up the phone and dial. Smile, dial, make a pop, right? Lead generate. Number 2, lead follow-up. Lead follow-up. Number 3, go on appointments, buyer appointments, listing appointments, okay? Number 4, negotiate contracts. Negotiate contracts. And lastly, practice and role play. Really, for today's class, we're just focusing on 3 things: lead generating, lead following up, and the practice and role play. We should be practicing scripts every single day with someone, even if it's as little as 5 to 10 minutes. Practice your scripts, guys. Practice your scripts. And if you're in productivity coaching, you're going to hear Rebecca mention this all the time. Practice your scripts, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes. Ideally, it should be 30 minutes. I heard someone mention just looking in the mirror and practicing your scripts. You could absolutely do that. You could absolutely do that, but go through your scripts, know them inside and out, memorize them, and then you're going to tailor them. Then you're going to tailor them to whoever you're speaking to, right? You're going to mirror their their tone. You're going to mirror their body language if you're meeting with them in person. If they have a loud, rambunctious voice, if you're kind of an introvert like me, you're going to have to maybe increase your volume. If you see that they're a little bit more laid back and you're an extroverted person and animated, you may want to tame it back because you're mirroring now who you're speaking to. All right, so lead generating, you're picking up the phone and you're talking with people. Lead follow-up. Lead follow-up is after you have a conversation with this person, you need to make sure they're in your database. If they're not in command, enter them in command. Hopefully you got an email. Hopefully you have an address. You could input that. You could add them to a smart plan. That's your follow-up. If you had a meaningful conversation, you could write a postcard. You could write a letter to them. And by the way, writing a personalized handwritten letter to someone is one of the best ways that you could follow up with a person, with a prospect. Absolutely, there's no price tag I could tell you guys on how important. And by the way, you could use an index card and just a regular 4.5 by 6 envelope or whatever size envelope that is. Just handwrite a letter, guys. John, such a pleasure chatting with you yesterday. I'm happy to hear your son got accepted into college. Just wishing you guys the best, healthy and happy New Year to you guys. Keep it rocking. Throw it in the envelope, send it off. You know what's funny? I just heard this over the weekend that if you send out an email newsletter, like a good open rate on an email and just in general is about 30%. If you're at a 30% open rate, like you're hitting it out of the park, you're doing great. But think about this. The open rate on a personalized letter that we send out is 600%. All right. It's the odds of someone opening that piece of mail are so high. And by the way, people aren't sending out handwritten letters anymore. So please understand how important that is to your lead follow-up plan. All right. Lead generate, lead follow-up, practice and role play. Let's move along. All right, so here's some different ways that you could prospect. Super important list. By the way, if you're watching this on your phone, absolutely screenshot this, have it at a glance, and do all of this. Again, you got to pull on multiple levers in order to have meaningful conversation with people. So let's just go down the list here. So there's follow-up either by phone, or there's follow-up, or there's prospecting by phone, and there's prospecting face-to-face. For listings without agency, there's the for sale by owner, there's the expired listing. And by the way, it should be said that that really only follow up with these if you actually have a buyer for these, for a for sale by owner or for an expired listing. Just because, guys, listen, in the state of New York, there's still a state of emergency and there's still some regulations and red tape around following up. Really is still frowned on. So be incredibly careful when it comes to this. Follow up with your productivity coach and maybe some strategy around this, but I would not follow up. I would advise not to follow up with the expired or the for sale by owner unless you absolutely do have an interested buyer in any one of those properties, okay? Very important to say that. Circle prospecting, this is one of my favorites. So this is when you establish a farm. Let's say you live in Circleville. Let's say you live in Woodsboro, or you live in Pine Bush or in New Windsor. Typically the first farm that we should establish is in the neighborhood that we live in, right in your backyard. Guys, you know what was one of the best letters that I sent out to my farm? So I live in Menacing Valley Schools. So, and this is, again, circle prospecting is when you draw a circle, you literally draw a circle around a map and you say, this is going to be the area that I'm going to focus on. Now, keep in mind, when it comes to circle prospecting, it usually takes up to a year before you start seeing some of those results. for your prospecting. Sometimes it's a lot sooner. But keep in mind, remember what I told you before, that 3 months is usually the turnaround time from a touch point to when you see some level of activity with a prospect in your database. So all the activity you do today, ideally 3 months from now, we'll see the outcome of that. But when it comes to circle prospecting, that's really a slow burn, because it could take really, in some cases, up to a year of constant follow-up with that farm. So going back to drawing a circle around an area on a map, ideally it should be where you live. And you're gonna say, okay, this is gonna be my dedicated farm. And the example that I'll give is the neighborhood that I live in. All right, so around the holidays, I sent out a postcard. And the postcard said, you know, happy holidays to you and your family. By the way, I am not just a local realtor, I am also your neighbor. That was literally the messaging on the postcard I sent. That was a happy holidays postcard. There's my big old face on it. And just said, hey, I'm not just a local neighbor. I'm not just your local realtor, I am your neighbor. And said, by the way, if I could ever add value, if I could give you, you know, values of your home, or if you just need just a cup of sugar, just reach out to me because I'm right down the street. So it was very personalized. It was sent to, you know, a very close radius to where I live, because that's a true story. I am their neighbor, but I'm also the local realtor. And by the way, I did see some activity on that. Someone that happened to be up for the weekend at one of their houses, got my postcard, called me, listing appointment. So it works. It works. Pick a farm, ideally right where you live, and you know, send out. You could do direct mail. Right around when spring comes, there could be a postcard that goes out. You know, glad that, you know, summer's over, spring is here. By the way, here's some helpful tips. Don't forget to do this. Don't forget to do that. So there's ways that you add value, because, you know, unfortunately what the mistake some realtors make is that they're only sending out mail, but it's, hey, can I list your home? So it's always give me, take. But if you come from a place of care and contribution and adding value, now it's not just, hey, let me list your home. It's, hey, I live next to you and here's some valuable information that someone could kind of vibe with. And they'll say, hey, I appreciate this. They may put it on their fridge. It may sit there for a year or two, but you added value. Because remember, circle prospecting is the long game. It's not going to be an immediate return. But if done right, you can see an immediate return. But you do this consistently over time, and it's the snowball effect. Now, mind share. Now, when people think realtor, they're going to think, you know what? Haley is always sending out really helpful information. You know what? Haley always sends a calendar to me at the turn of the new year, or she sends me that monthly update on what the values are. So when someone talks about realtors, you know what? Call Haley. She's fantastic. So there's also apartment complexes that could be part of your farm. You could pull a list, send out a postcard to an apartment complex. Recently sold listings, you could send out postcards. Recently listed properties. So again, just around circle prospecting is picking an area and farming it, direct mail, email, what have you. There is prospecting through community outreach. This is another one of my favorites and one of my strategies for this year. And this one, guys, has to be authentic. Please hear me out. When it comes to community outreach, if you're coming from a place, especially when it comes to charity work, it has to be authentic. It has to line up with your value system and with your core values and what you strongly believe in. For example, if you're not an animal person, but yet you're down at, you know, Pets Alive during an event and saying, hey, you know, come adopt a pet, and someone hands you a cat, you're like, yeah, I don't want to touch the cat. It has to be authentic, all right? Please have it be something that you love. If you absolutely love volunteering at your local senior center, Find every opportunity you have to volunteer and go and do it. And bring your phone, go live, right? And again, guys, this is how easy it is. Because sometimes we could overthink it. It's really not meant to be hard. Remember what I said at the beginning? Press the easy button, whatever you know you're gonna commit to doing, do the work, do it. So you're gonna go down to whatever volunteer opportunity you wanna participate in. In this case, let's say it's the local senior center, maybe there's a food pantry happening. You're gonna go down there, hopefully with your KW hat on and your merch, your red shirt. You're gonna bring your phone. Hey guys, I'm here at the Recap Food Pantry. We're here every Wednesday from 1 to 2 p.m. We're helping families that are in need. And you know what? They're in need of volunteers. Do you know anybody that would be willing to lend a hand? Absolutely fantastic cause. Please come out and join us. Boom. That's it. That's it. All right. But you're doing that. It's authentic. People are remembering Haley is the realtor that's always helping other people. You know what? Rizwana is the real. She's always down at the senior center helping them. I absolutely love that. And now just as an example, now when maybe someone has a family member that is older and now their house is now put in a trust and they're going to be transitioned over to an assisted living facility. If Rizwana was the agent that always went live when she was at the senior center volunteering, guess who they're going to call when their elderly parent is in an assisted living facility and they need to sell that home? They're going to call Rizwana because she was the agent that was out there doing the work. So I say that, guys, because community outreach is a very valuable piece to prospecting. And I would absolutely, if you're not already volunteering at a local charity or a nonprofit or a small business that is doing something for people that lines up with your value proposition, go do it and bring your phone. All right. You don't have to include other people's face. You could just be in front of the building and just say, I'm ready to go help. And by the way, we're here X day for X amount of hours. We need help. You may just give a quick blurb about what you're doing. By the way, I am at Pets Alive. They're getting ready for a pet adoption event. We're putting together goodie bags for the animals that are going home. And again, guys, there's no shortage of creativity around how you can do this, okay? But it's a very important leg to this prospecting strategy, is community outreach. And probably community outreach is probably more shorter term as far as possibilities for getting a lead. Circle prospecting, please understand, is more of the long game. That's a slow burn, but one that is worthwhile if you're looking to dominate a certain area or sphere. And by the way, I use the word dominate in a sense of mind share. And when people think realtor, they think, okay, Doug is very active here. And whenever someone moves into the neighborhood, is looking to move out, now they're thinking Doug, because Doug is active and Doug is always sending helpful information to our house. All right. Key relationships. All right. So very important to have, look in your phone roster. We all have people that we are in communication with, that we have relationship with. And sometimes you just got to remind them, this is what I do now. Maybe you have a friend's parent that is a lawyer. Maybe you have someone that you know in banking. Maybe you know investors, people that are looking to build their portfolio. And again, you add value. And I'll give you an example. There's an investor that I currently work with that his price point was a certain amount and everything coming on the market was a little above his price point. So I said, you know what? Not only will I add you to an MLS strip of houses you get, but if there's a certain area that you're really interested in, that you want to buy in, then let me know, because I will door knock for you. I will prospect for you in that certain neighborhood, if that's ideally where you want to be. So that's adding value. You're not taking anything from this individual, but with these key relationships, there's got to be a value add somehow. And sometimes it's just being kind. All right. Just being kind. And I know, man, Haley's really easy to talk to and work with. If there's an opportunity to work with her, I am actually gonna go for it. By the way, teaching and speaking opportunities. If there's a local meeting, maybe a PTA meeting, and if you could add value by saying, hey, if I could ever just give you a market update on our neighborhood, on what has sold and what the trends are in our neighborhood, please know that I'll do it for free. And if I could, provide a meal with it, if I could cater myself, I'll do it. I just want to add value to where my kids go to school and where I grew up. Just know I'll do it for free. Again, that's adding value. And let's say, just to give you this example, and by the way, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, this sounds okay. I might try this. But even at a local PTA meeting, hey, can I cater breakfast? Can I cater dinner? And if I could just have 5 to 10 minutes to share information on our market, how many houses have sold, what's the average price point, are more people moving into the neighborhood than moving out of the neighborhood, how much have home values increased? And by the way, this information is so easy to grab off the MLS, guys, super easy. If that's something that you're interested in talking about, please send me an email and I will absolutely love to get that over to you. Haley, if you don't mind, if you could pull my information from my email signature and just dump it in the chat. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, I would, again, any questions you have, I know that our time is a little limited. I only have 30 more minutes, but if any of these ideas kind of spark some curiosity and you have questions, shoot me an email, guys. I'm always available to you, okay? So door-to-door canvassing. By the way, I personally love door knocking. I really do. I have no issues. And I know you guys are thinking that I'm not truthful, because you're like, dude, you told us earlier that you're introverted and now you're telling me you love door knocking. Something doesn't add up, all right? But I promise you, I really am introverted. I'm completely fine sitting down and not having to talk to a group of people. Believe me. But here's also true. This is also true, is that I love to add value. I love coming from contribution. I love empowering others to achieve their dreams. That's why real estate has absolutely been a game changer for me and my family. Because I'm like, I love to add value. I love helping people. And if I'm able to help people while they're making one of the most important decisions of their life, and they're trusting me and they're trusting us to walk them through that process, I was like, that's a winning proposition for me. So in my mind, I'll tell you what keeps me motivated and keep me doing the work is that I know that there's some people out there, it could be your friends, could be your family, that want to sell their house, that want to buy a house, but they don't know where to go. They don't know where to turn to. Thank you so much, Haley. They don't know where to turn to. They're like, man, it's a daunting task. I'll give you guys a perfect example. So I was talking to someone the other day and they were like, hey, Isaiah, do you cover X and X so-and-so territory? And I said, you know what? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's part of my area of interest. If I were to put it that way. And they said, oh, thank gosh. They were like, you know what? You seem like a likable guy and trustworthy. We've been meaning to sell our mother's house, but we don't know where to turn to. And if it's not too much to ask for, we love to talk to you about listing our mother's house. And I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, I'm like, no, it is not no problem at all. I would love to have this conversation, as a matter of fact. But I say that because I didn't ask for the business. I was just doing the work. I was just adding value to people. I was just sharing information. And now they're reaching out to me. They're reaching out to you. No problem, Lisa. Thank you for joining us. I think this will be recorded, so whatever you miss, you could always retrieve later, okay? So just do the work. do your social media updates. Hey guys, by the way, I'm out showing a house. I'm at an open house. I'm door knocking. These are the shoes I'm wearing to go prospect today. Hey, this is the cup of coffee that I'm drinking. Well, guys, there's no shortage of ways to kind of let people know that you are doing the work on social media. And I say that because sometimes, we think that we're being silly by getting out there. By the way, if you're in real estate, you have to be willing to put yourself out there and get out of your comfort zone, because I certainly had to. Remember, I told you guys that I've been licensed 4 years. It's coming on 2 years that I've been doing this full time. And it's only been for 2 years that I've been intentional about posting on social media what it is that I do and how I help people. Even though I was licensed for 4 years, I only really took advantage of that for 2 years. So don't be like me. You're going to say, people are going to think I'm full of myself. And oh man, so what? So what? People are always going to have an opinion whether you do the work or don't do the work. So do the work, because you're doing it for your quality of life, for your family's quality of life. Just do the work. Put yourself out there. It's going to be uncomfortable. But the more you do it, I promise you, it'll become more natural. And when you think that you're doing this because you want to help people at the end of the day, it'll make it a lot easier. You know what? I'm posting this. I'm posting that I'm drinking a cup of coffee because I'm recharging to make more phone calls to help more people. Remember, we add value. We come from contribution. We help people. Imagine if we were to adopt the mindset, man, if I don't do this work, someone that really needs my help won't be able to get my help. Will that fire you up? Will that encourage you to keep making phone calls? Because I know it does for me. Do the work. So door knocking, going back to what I said way back when. I'm an introvert, but I don't mind door knocking because I realize that I come from contribution. I add value. I usually only door knock in areas where I listed a house. And I'm knocking, I'm inviting them to the open house that I'm having that weekend. Excuse me. I'm inviting them to the open house I'm having that weekend. And I use a simple script. I say, how you doing? My name is Isaiah. I'm a local realtor. By the way, we're having an open house. I just listed your neighbor's house. Would love for you to come out. If you know anybody that's looking to move into the neighborhood, now's the opportunity to come in and give this house a look. And by the way, if you ever want an opportunity to pick your next neighbor, now's your chance. It's kind of funny, but it works. That script has worked. But yeah, I don't mind door knocking at all. Again, it's about doing the work. All right, we're ready to move forward. All right, so now we are connecting prospecting to lead generation, deep dive prospecting methods. All right, let's move along. Be prospecting-based marketing enhanced. So these are ways that we enhance our prospecting. Door knocking, that's what I just told you. Around the neighborhood that you maybe listed a house in, or it could just be in your farm area. Remember what I told you about your first farm should be where you live. All right. Now I'll give you an example. So we moved into our house right before the pandemic started. So we moved in. So actually today will be our 2-year anniversary of having moved into our house. So we moved in February 14th, 2020. And for the first month, we were just kind of unpacking boxes and painting walls and what have you. So we really didn't get to meet our neighbors. So we were painting and doing the unpacking for a good month. Finally, we were ready to go meet our neighbors when the pandemic happened. Okay, so we were shut down literally as we were ready to go meet our neighbors. So we're like, oh man, it stinks. So my wife, Jessica, who's my business partner, she came up with a brilliant idea. She said, you know what, let's make a care package. So we literally, and remember, if you guys recall at the beginning of the pandemic, you couldn't get toilet paper anywhere. Remember that? So what we did is we went to our local Sam's Club and we picked up a big old box of those kind of individually packaged toilet paper. And we literally took a toilet paper, stuck it in a bag, we threw, I think, like a candy bar in there and a business card, and just a quick note like, hey, we're your neighbors, we're new to the neighborhood. Fortunately, we can't really meet face to face, but just so you know, we live right up the street. If we could ever add any value, we're just a door knock or a phone call away. So we prepared that, and we literally walked around our entire neighborhood, and we just left it on people's doorstep. And I can't tell you how well received that was. I mean, granted, back then toilet paper was as good as gold. So we added value. And I say that because, especially when you develop a farm, you could door knock. You could door knock around that neighborhood. Doesn't have to just be around a listing you had. It could be just right in the farm area that you pick. And when you door knock, go with the intention of adding value. All right, don't just door knock and say, hey, I'm a realtor. Have something of value to share with them. Like I said, it could be just dropping off a care package, just introducing yourself as the local realtor, but always have something of value to share with someone that you're door knocking with. All right, agent to agent referral. So KW family is huge, it's extensive. Take advantage of being able to refer to an out-of-state agent. If you are listing a house or someone that you know, for example. Here's a super important, guys, because remember, you could collect a 25% commission. Let's say you have a friend, a relative, someone that you know that is moving out of state, and they're moving to Arizona, they're moving to California. They haven't researched on a realtor that they want to work with. Well, let people know if you even have an inkling or you've heard that they have that they're thinking about moving, just add this value to them. Say, hey, by the way, have you connected with a realtor in Arizona that you want to work with when you get out there? No, man, it's just, that's actually one of the things that I'm thinking about. It's so stressful. I don't know who the heck to talk to. Tell them, hey, I could take that pressure off of you, man. If it's okay with you, I could interview agents for you in Arizona. I could interview agents for you in California. I know who you are, I know your style, and I could match you with a really good realtor out there. And 9 times out of 10, they're gonna say, yes, absolutely, please match me with an agent in Arizona, in New Mexico, wherever it is that they're moving to. And guys, the way that you go about getting an agent in those market centers is right in Command, right? You could go on, I think, KW Connect or Command. Haley, if you know, if you could throw the information in the text, in the chat. But getting information for a realtor anywhere in the United States, a KW agent, is super easy. It's super easy. You can research that. You can have a conversation with them. You could send them a referral request through Command, collect a 25% commission. That's, again, you could also request to connect with people out of state as well. But agent to agent referrals is a very powerful way to make passive income. All right, open houses. I heard someone mention this earlier. Very, very powerful way of getting leads. All right. You don't just have to buy leads off of Zillow. You don't have to, buy Google leads. If there's an organic way for you to get leads, guys, open houses is absolutely one of the best ways that you can get leads. I'll give you an example. Research all the open houses on the local MLS, research all of the open houses on Zillow, and reach out to all those listing agents. Literally reach out to every single one of them and just ask, hey, would you be interested if I could open your open house? You don't have to pay me anything, just if I could keep, the sign-in sheet, if I could keep track of the sign-in sheet. That's all you're gonna ask for in return. You may get a lot of no's. There's gonna be agents that say, hey, I'm sorry, I don't work, I don't allow other agents from a different brokerage to run my open house, and that's fine. But I guarantee you that there's gonna be one that says, hey, absolutely, I would absolutely appreciate that. I'm going to be out of the state, and I didn't have anyone to cover for me. So you know what? Thank you for reaching out. That's personally what I would do. Just pull a list from Zillow, from the MLS, all the open houses happening in a given weekend, and reach out to all those listing agents and offer your services. All right. And then social media. Again, put out ads. This is what I do. How can I help you? Very, very important way that that you could get marketing and those prospects potentially becoming leads on the long run. Okay. All right, moving along. Door knocking. All right, we're going to flesh these out a little bit. So when you door knock, it's how you approach the door. Again, remember, with every door that you knock on, tell yourself, and I do this whether I'm making a phone call or whether I'm knocking on the door. This is when kind of insecurities are bubbling up, and you're like, oh man, I get to knock on this door. Do I really have to make this phone call? You know, I remind myself, you know what? I have value to add to this conversation. I am coming from a place of care and contribution. And when I remind myself of that, I don't mind making the phone call, the prospecting phone call. I don't mind knocking on that door because I know I have value to add. If I'm showing up empty-handed, then I'm nervous. But if I know I possess the goods, if I have value, if I can answer a question, I knock on the door. How you doing? I'm a local realtor. I just listed this house. Want to invite you to the open house. That's the value add. You know, oh, and by the way, if I could ever answer a question, my information is right on the bottom of this, flyer. Or I'm door knocking. Hey, how you doing? I'm a local realtor. I just moved in, or I have a house right up the street. Just want to let you know that I'm here to help in any way that I can. Oh, and by the way, I'm offering a free service to all my neighbors. If I could ever just send you a monthly email that shows you what the value of your house is and what houses have sold. So just a quick snapshot, and you literally have a list of all the people that have signed on. Again, if you want to jump on the list, I have no problem whatsoever adding your name to the list. Do you want to be added and get on this? Yeah, cool. Boom. So have something of value to add, not just asking to take something from them, but you are literally adding value to them. All right, moving along. And go back real quick, Kelly. I'm sorry. I should say this. Really important. So the approach, your demeanor, super important. Always smile. Always smile. And this is super important too when you're making phone calls. When you're making a phone call, it seems stupid. Yeah, I'll say it that way. It may seem silly to smile while you're talking to someone. They can't see you, but there's something about when you smile when you're talking that increases confidence, that makes you feel like you're in control. Just smile, guys. When whether you're facing the person or whether you're on the phone, smile. All right, don't pout and be like, oh man, I'm blowing this conversation. No. Reframe that thinking. I have the goods, I add value, I know I'm doing a good job, and I'm gonna add value to this person. All right, so smile when you're having the conversation, smile when you're kind of in front of this person, and then hopefully you could follow up. Hopefully you could get a name, hopefully you could get an email, and put them in your database and follow up. All right, moving along. Agent to agent referrals, again, is what we talked about. So someone who's moving out of state, ask to match them with a realtor out of state. Also, you could jump in and command or connect. Hopefully Haley can get that information for us. And it's a way to kind of connect with other agents across the country. There's also a Facebook group, Lab Code Agent Referrals, I want to say it is, where you could literally connect with, you could just throw a message on there. Hey, I have a client that's looking to move to Wisconsin. Any competent, agents in Wisconsin, please reach out to me. You're going to have 20 people reach out to you. And that's another way of connecting with other agents. All right, moving along. Command referrals, perfect. I'm glad the slide is here. You could send or receive referrals right on command referrals. And you could request whatever your referral fee is. Usually, standard is about 25%. Moving along. Open houses. I explained this a moment ago. You could go on Zillow, go on the MLS, find out what the open houses are on a given weekend, call all those listing agents and offer your services for free. All you ask for is to keep the sign-in sheet, okay? I think it's Lab Coat Agents is the group. By the way, I would absolutely recommend everybody become a member of Lab Coat Agents. It's absolutely free. It's a lot of helpful information, people across the country, agents across the country sharing kind of pain points, success stories. But then there's another page that kind of piggybacks off that one. That's, I think, Lab Coat Agents Referrals. And that's where you connect with other agents across the country and ask for a referral, okay? Open houses, get a list of them, follow up with the listing agents. Don't charge a fee, just ask to hold on to the sign-in sheet. All right, moving along.
I have a request to go back to the slide with the referrals and commands.
Sure.
Emily wants to see it. Did you have a question on it, Emily, or you just wanted to see it again? Just see it. Okay.
All right, so when you add the prospects to command, a way to follow up is by adding to a smart plan. All right, there's a great graphic to show you. So when you're in command, you go to the contact. When you're in the contact, to the right of the screen, there's a window and there's tabs along the top that shows the most recent contact. The last one is for a note, to add a note. That's where you add that you had a conversation. They told you that they just recently had surgery. Maybe, hopefully, guys, please remember, a direct mail piece is super important to follow up and stay in touch with them. So if they told you, oh man, so glad to hear from you. I'm in so much pain. I just had surgery, but we're pushing along. I'm gonna be fine. Follow up that conversation with a card. All right, literally handwrite a card. Joe, so glad to hear from you, or so glad that we were able to catch up today. By the way, man, hoping and praying that you heal up fine, man, but you're a fighter. I know you're gonna be fine. By the way, here's your $5 gift card. By the way, you don't need to attach a gift card. It just really depends on whether you feel like there's a business opportunity. Like if Joe just got surgery, but he's also thinking about selling his house in the near future, that might be one of those opportunities where you attach maybe a $5 gift card. Say, hey man, if you're up to it, here's a cup of coffee and me to local Starbucks. Value add, right? You're adding value. And not only that, but you wrote him a handwritten letter. Who do you think Joe's gonna think about when it's time to list the house? The person who took the time to write a letter and encourage him, and also send them some money for coffee. Cool beans. Again, you do not have to send a gift card. It could literally just be the handwritten card. That's meaningful enough. All right, but if you follow up, you attach a smart plan. Hopefully, if you have an email is only effective if you have an email in the database. So please try to find a way to get that email. Remember the script I shared at the very beginning. Mary, how you doing? Hey, I'm updating my mailing list to send out cards, and wanted to know if you could share your email with me. Find us, there's a script for everything, and just work to having the email, because then you could add to a smart plan. Moving along.
We have a question.
Sure.
Just to say the Facebook group you were talking about again. Is it Lab Co agents or just Lab agents?
Yep. Here, what I'll do is I'll type it in quickly. All right, it's Lab Co. So that's the umbrella group. Look that up when you search that in Facebook. That'll bring up the main group and then also the referral group. Okay. Great question.
I don't see it in the chat.
It didn't come up?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I replied directly to Michelangelo. I think that's why. Let me see. Let me send it to everyone. Okay. Can you see now, Haley?
Yep.
Awesome. Cool beans. All right. So open houses. All right, moving along. Social media. So with social media, it's such an important piece of mind share. Mind share is when people think of real estate, hopefully they think Haley, hopefully they think Rizwan, hopefully they think Doug, hopefully they think of your name. So I'll give you an example. If I say the word fast food restaurant, who comes to mind? McDonald's, Burger King. When I think your favorite soft drink beverage, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Sprite, that's what we refer to as far as mind share. Now, when people say, hey, who's a realtor? This is where hopefully social media and activity lead to you being top of mind. So that's why it's super important. Again, for us introverts, it's going to be super awkward. I can't stress that enough. Super awkward. But you have to post daily. Do the work. Am I animated enough, Haley? Do the work, guys. It's going to be so silly, but it could, again, it feels super tacky, but I promise you it works. I'm taking down my notes because it's going to be a busy day today. Boom, you post that. Just drinking my coffee because I just got off the phone making multiple phone calls and I'm on my way to make a point, or on my way to show a house. Just boom. Taking a phone call because I'm negotiating a con. It's just, there's no shortage of content that you could have as far as the life of a realtor. And by the way, when you're on social media, you don't have to just post about the glitz and the glamour of being a realtor, because we all know there's a lot of work that goes into this business. Sometimes it's okay to poke fun at yourself. For example, hey guys, I was in a rush leaving the house today. I totally put on 2 different shoes, which by the way, it has happened to me, right? Take a picture, put it up, people are gonna laugh, say, oh my God, that's so funny. Oh my God, that's happened to me. Because what you're doing, guys, is people are seeing that you are a human being. You are a human being, that you have a sense of humor. People will connect with that. All right? People connect with people who are real. You know what? That's a reminder to myself that I need to, be a little bit more candid with some of those funny things that happen in my business, and they happen every single day. All right, moving along. We're run out of time, so I want to make sure we cram in as much information we can these last 5 minutes. So with social media, great rule of thumb: please screenshot this screen. 20% business, 80% personal. By the way, you guys are more than welcome to go check out my Instagram page. I'll throw it in the chat. If you just kind of want an idea, again, it's mostly personal. But then every so often I'll throw some stats up. Business, as it refers to, hey, got a new listing, hey, open house, come join us. But this year I'm gonna be way more, personal, as far as my kids, my wife, what I'm doing just for leisure, and these are some of my passions and what I love to do. This is what I'm doing in the community. So do more of that, because people connect with you as a person before they connect with what you do from a business point of view. Just if they like you guys, if they like you and you seem trustworthy, that's 80%. That's 80%. 20%, like, that's your practicing and your role playing and your scripts and your objection handling. you're doing that every single day, but really you're just being yourself on social media. You just want to come off as likable and trustworthy. And you do that by posting what you do on a daily basis. Be authentic. Don't be your false self. Be your true self, like who you really are. If you love Harry Potter, let people know about it. If you love your dog and your cat, let people know about it. Be yourself. Be authentic.
Hello. Hi.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for this information. A lot of this information is very useful. I just have one question. I wasn't sure because I came on a few minutes late. Just what's this class called? This one we're taking now? What's the name of the class?
Sure. Haley, can you tell us the exact name of that?
Yep, it's Elementals 1 Prospecting.
Elementals 1 Prospecting.
Yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for jumping on. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, moving along. We have just a few minutes. I'm going to cram as much as we can, guys. Okay. All right. So take a action and develop a plan. All right. Next slide. Take action and develop your plan. 80% got 90% of their business from 5 sources or less. So in other words, you're going to be pulling on a lot of levers as you're starting your business. Okay. I'm on social media. I'm out in the community. I'm door knocking. I'm sending out direct mail. Every so often, people will purchase some leads, even though I highly encourage you, you do not have to buy leads to be successful in this business. You could completely from your sphere, guys, completely from your sphere, throw them in your database, add them to a smart plan, send direct mail to them. When you're on the community, you're leaving your business card in certain places. So you're going to have multiple levers, but ideally, as you do this for a year, being intentional of pulling on 7 or 8 levers, you're going to find which ones were most productive for you. And then the following year, you're going to focus on those 3 to 5 sources, whether it's door knocking, whether it's direct mail, whether it's sphere of influence, whether it's following up your circle prospect, and that's your farm. So do it all and find out which works best for you. All right, moving along. So make a list. This is what I was just talking about. So the list, are you door knocking? Are you calling your sphere? Agent to agent referrals. There was a slide for that Haley shared in KW command, for sale by owner. Remember about the for sale by owner, guys. Only really follow up with them if you truly have a buyer for their house. The open houses, that's very powerful. Offer your services to listing agents, and don't charge them. That's how you are guaranteed that they may say yes. It's, hey, you don't have to pay me. I'll cover your open house. Just let me keep the sign-in sheet. All right. Then prioritize them, and then that's where you're going to focus on. Okay. A newsletter is a very powerful way, by the way, of following up with your database. I'm out of time, but can you guys give me 3 more minutes just to try to get through a few more slides? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So activity, developing a prospecting plan. Here we go. Recap and create your success list. All right, moving along. Ahas to achievement. Recap. How has your thinking changed? What ideas or mindset were new? Hopefully you guys walked away with this idea that if you have a kind of a limited mindset as far as, man, I don't want to make this call. And oh my God, what are they going to say? What are they going to think? Move on from that limited mindset and think abundance. Think, you know what? No, I have value to add. I come from a place of care and contribution. Have that mindset. When you adopt that mindset, guys, you're going to make the calls. Don't procrastinate. Don't be like me. When I was newer to this prospecting thing, I would do everything that had to be done. I'd clean out my closet. I would do the dishes. I would, I would do just about anything to not have to pick up my phone and call. But no, do the work. Do the work. You have valuable information to share with people. Pick up the phone and make a call. And by the way, I'll share this, guys. Have a piece of paper with you. Have a piece of paper with you and track the number of no's that you get. Have a no list. See how many no's you hear in a given day. If you get to 10 no's, you're doing a good job. All right? But keep track of your no's, because if you keep tracking this, you're gonna find, you know what? That number is gonna grow smaller and smaller. And it's okay. Do not fear rejection. Do not fear rejection. They're not rejecting you. It's just they didn't need your help. They didn't need my help. And that's what I tell myself. Every so often I'll come across someone that, you know, is hangs up on me or says, you know what, don't call me. I know how you got a number. It's all right. I don't take it personal. You know what I tell myself? You know what? It's all right. They didn't need my help. I move it along, because ultimately I know my value, guys. I hope that we all know our value, that we know that we have valuable information to share. And because of that, I don't fear the hang up. I don't fear the potential blow up. It's all good. Oh, I'm so sorry. Seems like you're having, you know, a busy day. It's all good. I have valuable information to share. But don't worry. I understand. Thank you for your time. You keep it moving. They didn't need your help. All right. What do you feel differently about? What was meaningful to you today? How will your behaviors be different going forward? What actions will you take going forward? What tools, models, or systems will you definitely use? How will they make you accountable? All right, move along. All right, daily success habits. This will be the last thing we touch on. All right, so focus on this. All right, focus on adding 10 contacts to your database. Focus on having 10 conversations a day. Focus on handwriting 10 notes and hopefully previewing 10 homes a week, okay? Awesome, and that's it. That is all. That is all. We're out of time, guys, but we have time maybe for 2 or 3 questions or comments. I'd love to hear any feedback you have to share, or any questions you have. You can come off mute. Did you guys find this helpful?
Yes, very much so. Thank you.
Yes,
And thank you.
absolutely.
I mean, telling me that it takes time for, I think I got it now. I mean, I was so upset that I didn't even get one call, and now I think it will take time. I'll just keep doing it.
Make calls, Rizwana. Make calls. If you don't know where to start with your phone. Very important. Start with your phone. Call people. If they don't even know you're in real estate, that's probably the first conversation to have. Hey, Sally, how you doing? Just so you know, I'm a licensed agent. You know that I love helping people. It's going to have all my energy. Whoever has the opportunity of working with me is going to have an A+ experience. Have confidence in your ability. I know everyone on this call has valuable information to share, but sometimes it's in how we present it. Because yeah, I'm not going to even start this because I'm going to go down a rabbit hole and I'm out of time. But know that you have valuable information to share. Follow up with your sphere, add them to your database. You know, get an email, get an address, do that neighborhood nurture. But pull on all those levers. Go to open houses, cover open houses, do door knocking, pick a farm, send direct mail. Remember, follow up a conversation with a handwritten letter, send it out. The activities you do today, we won't see any kind of result for another 3 months. But do the work. Can you guys put a fist up if you promise you're gonna do the work? Boom. All right, I love it. Guys, have an awesome day. Go make your lives better. Go make someone else's lives better. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Isaiah. Great stuff. Really
Awesome.
helpful.
Appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too.